There are places in this world that feel wrong. They hold a dark energy. The Blackwood House is one of those places. For 70 long years it just sat there. It was a dark shape against the sky. The windows were like dead eyes, boarded up and blind. Paint peeled from the old wood like sunburnt skin. The roof sagged in the middle as if holding a heavy, invisible weight. Trees grew wild around it, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching for the walls. We've all seen houses like this. They exist on the edge of town, on the edge of our understanding. But this one was different. This one was sealed for a reason. The silence around the house was the loudest thing you ever heard. It was a heavy, oppressive silence that swallowed all sound. Birds didn't sing in the overgrown garden. The wind seemed to die down as it got close to the property line. Locals would cross the street to avoid walking past its rusted iron gate. They felt something watching them from behind those boarded windows. It was a raw, primal feeling of being hunted. A presence lingered there, trapped within the decaying walls. This presence did not want visitors. It made sure everyone knew they were not welcome. It was a feeling of pure dread that seeped into the very ground. We are investigators of the paranormal. We seek answers in the darkness. We are drawn to places with a history of tragedy and mystery. The Blackwood House called to us. It was a location steeped in legend and fear. For 70 years, no one had stepped inside. No one knew what horrors were locked away. The stories were enough to keep people away. They spoke of shadows moving in empty rooms. They whispered of a cold that could stop your heart. This wasn't just an old, abandoned building. It was a prison, and we wanted to know what was locked inside. The front door was chained and padlocked. Thick, rusty chains were wrapped around the handles, held together by a lock that hadn't been touched in decades. The boards over the windows were nailed shut from the outside. Someone wanted this house to stay closed forever. They didn't want anything to get out. Or maybe they didn't want anyone to get in. This level of security is unusual. It speaks of a powerful fear. It's a sign that whatever happened here was so terrifying, the only solution was to seal it away from the world and hope it would be forgotten. But some things can never be forgotten. Every haunted location has a story. The Blackwood House had many. The most common legend was about the Blackwood family themselves. They were reclusive, strange people. The story goes that Mr. Blackwood was obsessed with the occult. He was trying to contact something from the other side. Locals said he was trying to open a gateway, a portal to a darker dimension. They say he succeeded. One night, terrible screams were heard coming from the house. They echoed all over town. Then there was only silence. The family was never seen again. They just vanished from existence, leaving everything behind. The fear in the town was real. It was passed down through generations. Grandparents told their grandchildren to never go near the house. They said an evil entity dwelled within its walls. They called it the Watcher. People who dared to get close reported strange experiences. They would hear faint whispers on the wind, saying their name. Others saw a tall, dark figure standing in the upstairs window, even though it was boarded shut. These were not just ghost stories told around a campfire. These were personal testimonies. These were warnings from people who had felt the house's dark energy firsthand. They were telling us to stay away. One of the most chilling stories came from the 1950s. A group of teenagers, full of bravado, decided to break in. They managed to pry a single board from a downstairs window. As the first boy started to climb through, he suddenly screamed. His friends said his face went pale with terror. He was pulled back out by his friends, shaking and unable to speak. He claimed 2 cold, shadowy hands had grabbed his ankles from inside the dark room. He never spoke of it again, and no one ever tried to enter the house after that. The story became a powerful reminder of the danger that lurked inside that house. This is what we look for. We look for credible evidence. We search for patterns in the paranormal activity. The reports were all consistent, the feeling of being watched, the disembodied whispers, the sudden extreme drops in temperature even on a hot summer day, and the shadowy figure in the window. These are classic signs of a powerful, intelligent haunting, an entity that is aware of its surroundings and can interact with the living. The Blackwood House wasn't just a collection of ghost stories, it was a hotbed of paranormal activity, waiting for someone to confront it. Why was the house sealed for so long? The answer is simple: fear. After the Blackwood family disappeared, the town authorities went to investigate. The legend says that the sheriff at the time was the one who ordered it sealed. He went inside with 2 of his deputies. They were only in there for 10 minutes. When they came out, they were changed men. They were pale, shaken, and refused to say what they saw. The sheriff immediately ordered the house boarded up and chained shut. He told everyone it was for public safety, but everyone knew it was for something more. He was trying to contain the evil. The mystery of what the sheriff saw became a legend itself. He never spoke a word about it until the day he died. He took the secret to his grave. This only made the rumors worse. People imagined the most terrible things. They believed he saw the spirits of the Blackwood family, or the demon Mr. Blackwood had summoned. The lack of answers created a vacuum that was filled with terror. The sealed house became a monument to an unspoken horror. It was a physical manifestation of the town's collective fear. They didn't want to know the truth. They were too afraid of what the truth might be. Over the years, ownership of the property became a legal mess. It was passed down through distant relatives who wanted nothing to do with it. No one wanted to take responsibility for the dark legend. No one wanted to be the one to break the seal. Selling it was impossible. Who would buy a house that was believed to be a gateway to hell? So it sat, abandoned and untouched, caught in a legal limbo. The town was content to let it rot. They preferred the devil they didn't know, locked behind chains, to the one they might unleash. This is a classic case of a location becoming infamous. The energy of the place feeds on the fear of the people. The more people feared it, the more powerful the stories became. And perhaps the more powerful the entity inside became. It's a cycle of paranormal energy. The house was left alone, isolated. This isolation can create a pressure cooker for spiritual energy. For 70 years, whatever was in that house was left to fester, to grow stronger in the darkness and the silence. The seal wasn't just keeping people out, it was trapping a powerful force inside. The day finally came on June 23rd, 2025. The town council, tired of the decaying landmark, hired a crew to unseal the house and prepare it for demolition. Our team was there. We were granted exclusive access to be the first to step inside. The air was thick with anticipation and dread. As a worker used bolt cutters on the ancient padlock, the sound of the chains snapping was like a gunshot in the silence. It felt like we were breaking a sacred pact. When the heavy front door creaked open, a wave of cold, musty air rushed out. It smelled of dust, decay, and something else, something unpleasant. It smelled of fear. The inside was a time capsule. Everything was covered in a thick layer of grey dust. Furniture was still in place, draped in white sheets that now looked like ghostly shrouds. Cobwebs as thick as cotton hung from the ceilings. In the living room, an open book lay on a table, its pages yellowed and brittle. It was a book of dark rituals. Our EMF meters immediately started screaming. The readings were off the charts. We captured EVPs almost instantly, a faint whisper that sounded like, "Get out." The energy was heavy, oppressive. We felt like we were intruders in a sacred, dark place. As we moved deeper into the house, the activity intensified. Doors creaked open on their own. We heard heavy footsteps from the floor above us, even though we were the only ones there. In the master bedroom, the temperature dropped by 30 degrees in a matter of seconds. We all saw it. A dark, human-shaped shadow moved across the far wall and vanished. It was the Watcher. It knew we were there. It was making its presence known. The house was not empty. The stories were true. We had stepped into its domain, and it was not happy. The final discovery was in the basement. At the center of the stone floor was a symbol, crudely painted. It was a summoning circle. Standing in that room, the feeling of malevolence was overwhelming. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into a bottomless abyss. The 70-year seal had not weakened the entity. It had preserved it. The house was not just haunted, it was occupied. Demolishing the building would not solve the problem. It would only release what had been trapped inside for so long. The mystery of the Blackwood house was solved, but a new, more terrifying chapter had just begun.